Welcome to the Theory of DFS podcast. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender Ed, Blender HD on Twitter, and the co-author of The Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports, 15-hour audio DFS Masterclass at theoryofdfs.com. Joining with me this week, because Eric is MIA once again. I have no idea if it's the snow. I have no idea what's going on. Downswing, I have no idea. Feel free to tweet at him and say, where the hell have you been? But joining me is Greg Ehrenberg, G. Ehrenberg DFS from Awesemo.com. If you're on Awesemo's YouTube channel, you probably see him multiple times in a week. And I wanted to bring you on for two reasons. One, three reasons. One, Eric couldn't make it. So then that's the honest truth. Like last night, you need to find someone. Okay, I'll wait till the morning and just like who's stupid enough to come on this fucking show? Okay, there we got someone. Two things. We made fun of, like, this was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. We're both in our respective sites, like private channels. So like Roto-Grinders has a Discord, Awesemo, you have a Slack. Are you like me that I don't tilt my players? I don't like the players are whatever. I mean, like, it just shit happens, and we've been playing DFS for long enough that whatever. Like, great, Reggie Jackson's in foul trouble. Okay, Frank Mason injured 4 minutes into the slate. Like, whatever, shit happens. I tilt more having to be in the chat during a slate where apparently if your player has not scored 30 points in the first 5 minutes of the game, your lineups are dead. What an idiot. Who imagined playing that guy? How the hell do you deal with it?
So it's funny because, like you, I don't actually care. Like, because the other thing, too, is I've been doing this for a very long time now. I quit my regular job to play DFS full-time about 6 years ago now. So I know the highs and lows. I know what it is. I know some days I'm going to have shitty lineups. Some days I'm going to have good lineups. And over the long haul, I've proven to myself at this point that I know that it's going to be fine long term. So anything that happens weird on an individual slate, I'll be like, that's minorly annoying, but I don't actually care. However, I will tweet about it a lot and make a lot of jokes because I've realized that something that I particularly gain traction on, if I make fun of plays not working well during a slate, throw up some GIFs, some memes, whatever, I get a lot of traction on that. That's where I gain the most of my followers. That's where I get the most of my engagements. So I don't actually care, but I like to write jokes about it on Twitter because it's something that works for me in terms of social media presence.
But how about for the people? Like, for instance, you could sign up to Roto-Grinders for a premium membership, and you get into premium Discord, and there's thousands of people in there. Same thing for Awesemo, for Slack. I'm not. Of course, I work for Roto-Grinders. You work for Awesemo. To me, it's not a competition. To me, it's not. I don't. I think Awesemo shows are great, right? I listen to the NBA DFS strategy show. I listen to Matt Kajeski's tuna campaigns in the morning. I mean, It's one big industry. It's perfectly fine. I appreciate good content, no matter if it's at Roto-Grinder, if it's at Awesemo, ETR, Fantasy Labs, wherever. But inside of our private communities, like, my goal, same thing for this podcast, is I teach 100% transparently everything that I know. And my goal is to help you play better, help you become profitable. And if everyone did it, my edge would be gone. But I know that 95% of people just fucking won't do it. Just no matter what I do, they just won't learn. But to me, that tilts me more of, like, I'm here to help you. Why are you overreacting 5 minutes into a slate? Is Chris Boucher dead? Like, dude, he doesn't start. Like, obviously he has no point 6 minutes into the slate. Like, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with managing, trying to teach and help people when I view it as like where the emotions take hold? It's almost like how do you not know that that's the rotation for the Raptors? How do you not haven't you played this every day? We're dealing primarily with people that play most of the time, not like once in a blue moon. that had, Jeremy Lamb, oh my God, dead. Like dude, he's playing. He didn't start. And then he'll close. And then at the half, Miles Bridges at the half. Can't win with him. It's like, dude, he's like 90% owned. Like if he puts up 18 in cash games, you could still win. Like, do you just tune it out? Me, my personality is like I look at it and sometimes I have to walk away going, like I'm too angry. Like dude, I'm trying to teach you. I'm trying to help you. But at what point do I have to say, like, if you're gonna constantly be like this, like you're never gonna get better?
Yeah, well, I think we have to admit, number one, I think there's a lot of people who recognize that. Like they know that it's not really that big of a deal. But number one, there's people who believe in crazy jinxes, and they think that somehow some message they type in a Slack chat has an outcome on the results of the game. Like somehow, like, oh, Giannis got off to a bad start, but if I complain about him in my Slack chat, this is going to send some sort of forces through the universe, and magically he's going to start becoming a better shooter or something like that. There are people who actually think this, and they think that they are somehow impacting the games from miles away based on some Slack message. When somebody's sending the exact opposite Slack message in some other channel, and somehow they cancel each other out, but there's some sort of force that was, I don't know, but there's all kinds of weird kinds of juju that goes on that people believe in. But I also think a lot of people, I recognize, and this is something to more your point, how I deal with this. There's two different kinds of people. There's some people that actually want to learn, and I'm willing to teach. I've spent so much time in DMs on Twitter or Slack where I'm going through and taking people's questions that actually want to learn. But then I also recognize that I wouldn't say that people are a lost cause, but there are a lot of people that are in DFS just for the entertainment aspect, right? Like they want to tilt players. They want to be unhappy when their lineups lose. There are a lot of people that their favorite part of DFS, I'm convinced, is losing and complaining about it online. I think that's a lot of people, their favorite aspect of DFS. And I think there's a lot of people that sign up for premium services to be part of a community and just be in that Slack chat and just complain about when things aren't working, right? To celebrate when things go well. And they don't necessarily always care if they're profitable, what the results of their lineup are. So I've come to realize that I'm dealing with different people, and I'm not always going to try to force my certain strategy or beliefs on a lot of people, because there's a lot of people that don't want to hear it. They just want to have a good time. And part of that is actually losing for people and complaining about it.
So you think that the complaining is people having a good time? Because I view it from a perspective that it's one of those things where if you're right, it's because you're brilliant, and if you're wrong, it's someone else's fault. Like I view it that way. Of same as why I do the pregame show every weekday morning, of like showing sharp players in results DB and saying this is what they did. Did you do similar things? Maybe not the exact, right? They're playing 150 lineups. What type of constructions were they doing, right? If you see across the board that 96% of people had Frank Mason and you got a 0 with Frank Mason, like if you had the ability to trade 5 years worth of results and ROI with any of these players that I'm looking at, would you do it? If the answer is yes, then well, you made similar choices, and they got screwed and you got screwed. But the actual choice, if your lineups look nothing like any top 50 player or whatever, you go to your cash games and you're seeing that half of your players are 3% owned. To me, it doesn't matter if you did well or you didn't do well. That you're not going to be profitable in the long term if all these profitable players are making these decisions and you're not. But that's the rational mind. Like that, you have. To me, I'm trying to appeal to that like non-reptile part of your brain. And I find it tilting when most of the people that I'm dealing with are inside of the reptile part of their brain, yet they still claim that, well, I want to get better at this. But you think that maybe it's more due to the fact that they pay the subscription so they could like, I view it as lying to yourself. I was like, now that I have someone that could tell me what to do, even though I know that they're more profitable than me, and I know that I know what variance is. I mean, they don't technically know what it is, but they know that things could happen, but they want to be able to say, well, what else could I have done? I listened to Greg. What else could I have done? I listened to Alex, right? Shit, my money said to play this guy, and he got 4 points. And of course, he has him in 97% of his lineups, right? But now it's not my fault if if I lose, and that's where the value comes in. To me, I find that stupid, but it seems like you're more on that side of the like. I understand the entertainment people. I always say if you're playing entertainment, this is you're going to play blackjack, and if you lose $50, you had a good time, then you don't even have to listen to me at all. Pick whoever you want and have fun. I fucking come up with on the third Saturday of every month, some guy with the last name of H that goes off. I mean, do it whatever system you want to do. That's perfectly fine with me. It's the ones where like you and a lot of times you see like bouncing around looking for. I call it looking for the easy button. Is the easy button here? Let me try this out for a month or two. Oh, no, the easy button isn't here. I'm going to go somewhere else, and I'm going to try to find the easy button. 5 years later, they're still not profitable. They still haven't found the easy button, and to me, it's due to the fact of you're looking for an excuse and not actually looking to play DFS as seriously long term, which tends to be much less exciting than what people think it is.
But isn't that really a larger societal thing? Isn't that what people do in everything as a whole? And then I also think that goes to also, like what I was saying before, there's also two different kinds of people where there are some people, well, actually, let's say three different kinds of people. There's the people who are actually looking to learn, because there are people who are subscribers to all different sites that I've dealt with, that I've had really good interactions with, that become very good players over the course of time, become profitable because they ask questions.
Yeah, but how much of a percent is that? How about 2%, 5%?
It's not the large majority, but those people are out there. Then there's people who I do think though the largest majority of people are in this for entertainment, and they're just looking to have a good time. And I recognize that those are the people. And then there's also the other people who think that, like you said, they're the easy button. Actually, the largest majority is probably the easy button people who are just looking for the quick solution. But that's the person that exists in the large majority everywhere, who are looking for the fast way out and who are always trying to kind of reverse history and are always looking at everything as being like, oh, I should have been successful at this, or I should have been successful at something else. So they'll look back at their lineups and say that, oh, if I would have just swapped this player who I rostered for this other player who I never considered, I would have won all this money, when that's just a fruitless activity. I think that's that same type of person also.
Yeah, but those are the type of people that we make money off of.
Kind of. I mean, I know what you're saying. Because those are the people who are probably subscribing to sites the most and bouncing around from place to place.
But I'm not even a subscriber wise. I mean, even Joe Schmo on the couch. Of like, oh, it couldn't have been me that's doing something wrong. I mean, you go on Reddit, you go on some of these Facebook groups, you see conspiracy theories that, like, I couldn't come up with them myself. Like, they're just so out of. I go once in a while, every couple of months. Let me search through what's weird conspiracy theory. People post on Twitter, I'm selling lineups, when it's like, no, I'm just using projections. Like that's what are projections? Oh, then that, like, you kind of don't understand like how the game kind of works. It doesn't seem like it tilts you. As someone that it's inherently, like, this is the reason I do this podcast. I do the pregame show. I want to teach people. I'm 100% want to teach people, but it gets to the point where it's like how exhausting is it to 174 times saying the same thing, and it's like at some point, like, when are you gonna learn? Like, then don't claim you. Fine, say you're not here to learn. Say here you like bitching and moaning. I respect that. Okay, say I want to use Meansy's core plays, and if they're wrong, I'm going to tell Andy that he sucks, and that's what I'm paying for. Okay, if you want to admit that, that's perfectly fine. But you know how many times, and I'm not talking about new people, someone that's just getting into DFS, I can understand having a lot of questions. That may seem stupid to someone that's been playing for 5 years, but the same people, like, week after week after week, and like, well, how do you do this, and asking the same questions. I don't know. Maybe I brought you on so I could bitch at you. You seem so much more. You see so much more at peace to I'm assuming that also Slack must be a fucking train wreck during Slates. I mean, because you guys have a lot of people there, and you gain a lot of traction from YouTube. Roto-Grinders has a bunch of people also, and like 90% of it is hindsight bias and recency, and like you list all the biases, and over the course of 4 hours, you're going to see all of them. like in the course of one slate, and I'm sitting there going, I literally wrote a chapter about how to eliminate bias so you play with a sound mind, and like, how do you not tilt that?
You know what that kind of reminds me of? So, because we both have a comedy background. So Doug Stanhope said on one of his specials, he said, "Why are people still talking about abortion? I solved that on my third album. Why are people still discussing this?" And that's kind of the same thing too, where you're like, I already taught you guys about variance. Why is this still an issue? Why are we talking about recency bias? I wrote that as a chapter in my book, but it's still, so people could read that information. They could say, "Hey, I agree with this." But then it becomes really hard for people to actually put that information into practice. And that's something that I'll struggle with sometimes too, because I might be looking at players that I project to be well compared to the ownership projections. And I'll say, I think this guy is a really good play. I'll pick out one individual play. And then when I actually go to build my lineup sometimes, I find it hard to get those players actually in that I've recognized as contrarian options or that I think is actual good plays when I go to build my lineups. And so I understand. Do you follow where I'm going here? Do you kind of understand what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I'm the lineups not players guy, so I understand it completely. I don't look for plays, so I just look for lineups. So like my approach is a little bit different to GPPs, but don't you think that highlights the mindset difference of like, well, this guy could be a good play, but you can't build the highest EV lineups with that player, or they could be 30 great plays on a slate, but can you, based on the positional scarcity? I mean, can I play a Coro on Fan? Yeah, you can in certain lineups. I mean, he projects X, and you could do that. Like, but that comes like, it's almost the difference between linear and nonlinear thinking. Like you're thinking like with the plays, like you've identified plays like those, like in a vacuum, like linearly, like makes sense. But we're really playing a game that's non-linear, where people will ask you, Rinpack or something, right? He won yesterday. How did you play that guy? It's like, well, a lot of times it just happened to fit, just happened to fit in the lineup. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's no secret sauce to that. But once you remove the fact that there's no secret sauce, don't you think that DFS could appear like a black box? And with a black box, people don't have the understanding of what's inside. Like, these top players are doing something. So either they're colluding, either Mock Lovin knew something from the Spurs organization that Lonnie Walker, who was a DNP for weeks, was going to come in and score 42 points at no ownership. But it's all a black box to them. We're trying to remove the black box and go, these are the concepts that are in here. This is the math that's in here. But if you don't have the fundamental, like, if you're not approaching the game from a I want to learn perspective, like, it's always going to look like a black box. And then with the black box comes all the, well, I have to blame something. I have to find some type of confirmation that goes along with, he was a good play because it's his birthday. That's the reason, right? Or it was a bad play because he didn't get a haircut. I mean, trust me, in the last season, there was a haircut narrative. He got a haircut. We got to play him, and then he did well, and now we're looking for haircuts. Like, that's all. To me, that's fun in games. I'll say that jokingly, but isn't our goal as content providers to turn DFS from a black box game into a game that could be understandable to people?
Yes and no. I still think ultimately our job is to entertain people, though. Like, ideally, and by the way, somebody being more profitable, that could be a form of the entertainment, right? Because if somebody wins a whole bunch of money, they had a good time, right? And they're entertained. But I also think if somebody reads an article and it makes them laugh, if somebody watches a show and they enjoy it, they have a good time, we're also doing our job, because then they're coming back to watch it again, which ultimately is the purpose of a show. Like, and there's multiple ways that you could achieve that goal. If you give out really good information, people come back. If people have a good time watching, if they like asking you questions, they like it to be answered, they come back. So I think there's multiple things that go into it. And by the way, you could have a show that has, you could give out the best information in the world, and people might just be bored and not give a shit about your show and not show up. And to me, you're not doing your job then either, even if you've given out the best information possible. And then you also have to present it in a way that people are able to actually take in that information and take something from it. So if you're giving people out the best DFS advice in the world, like, your book is, you have a very good book. You have one of the best DFS books that anybody's written. However, if people were to read that and they just see all the information in there, except they're not able to break it down in a way that they're able to understand, then it wouldn't have done its part. So that's why I think there's a lot of elements that go into what our job is as content creators. And ultimately, if people keep coming back for whatever reason it is they're coming back, then you're doing your job.
People are going to notice that you were sucking up there because you can't read my book because it's an audio course.
Oh, well, my bad. But
people call it an audio book, whatever. But I disagree with you. I think people, they want to know, they want to win. Not profitable, but that's a nebulous concept of like what's long-term profitable. I mean, because you see tons of times, I'll get a DM, beat you in a head-to-head today. Okay, I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose 40% of the time. Like, what? That's no big deal. Like, I'm long-term. Like, one slate doesn't matter. But people look. I want to win tonight. Who do I play tonight to win? To me, it's the wrong mindset. But I still think that they're not coming for entertainment. That's a bonus, sure, if it's entertaining. But I think I'm tuning in an hour before the slate, live before lock, whatever. You have 7,000 shows at Awesemo. I don't know what's going on, what they're called, the
Way
deeper dive. Who knows? Who knows? They turn into one another, right? They're coming for like, I think you're better than me. Tell me what to do. I still think that's 95%. Like, if you were boring as fuck, and if I came to you and said, tell me what to do, and then I won, like, I don't give a shit. Like there's certain segment that's like, it's a boring as fuck show, but they tell me what to do. But, I mean, we both know that DFS is not a game of tell me what to do. Like, it's just simply not. It's just like poker. What do I do with pocket queens? Well, what the fuck? Like, that's what game are you in? Like, there's so many other questions. I'm not going to sit with you at the table and look at your cards and tell you to rate. I mean, like, I'm not going to do that, but you could learn the concepts. Like, but I still think that that's what people want. Is it what they need? No. But I still think that's what they want. Like, how do you convert that over from this? I know this is what people want, but I'm telling you that the answer to this that you're going to get is not going to help you. Like, how do you turn people to the other side? You seem like you're perfectly fine with, like, it. Who cares if people whatever, like, you see people not winning and going, well, Greg, you suck, right? You told me to play so and so and you suck. Like, I never want to be put in that position. I just want to say, well, here are the concepts, and here you go. I'll teach you how to fish, and go out and fish as best as you can. And then you can't come back to me and say, well, why didn't you tell me to play Hassan Whiteside? It's like, how the fuck did I know he was going to go? Like, who would know that? Like, there's a percentage chance you could have played him, or it's the opposite, Greg. You didn't say you have Hassan Whiteside in your lineup, right? In one of your 150 lineups or something, and it's due to a late swap probably, and Jetty Osman's in or whatever. You didn't mention Jetty Osman on the show. Like, to me, to people that don't know any better, like, it almost feels like a hit on my own integrity, or am I just projecting?
So here's what people actually want. Like, you talked about the easy button before. People don't want to know what to do with pocket queens. They want to know how to get pocket queens. Like, that's
right, which is something you can't do, right?
But isn't that what a lot of people want? And that's not something that's possible. So that's why, to me, and number one of the reasons that, because no matter what, now we have a lot of people that watch the shows at Awesemo. Inevitably, I'm going to get a bunch of messages, DMs, tweets at me every night at the end of my shows. A bunch of people are going to be happy, and there's always going to be people that are unhappy. It's inevitable. That's always how it works. Except I know over time there are going to be more people that are happy than people that are unhappy, because I have been a profitable player for a long time. I give out the advice, and I try to tell people how I'm building my lineups, and I try to communicate that as best as possible. So I know that, to me at least, I have my own integrity, and I know that when people ask me what plays I like or what I'm doing with my lineups, as long as I tell the truth, number one, I know that that's going to be information that's profitable over the long haul. But then number two, I don't have anything to worry about personally because I was not dishonest. I gave everybody as forthcoming information as I possibly could. So there's always going to be those trolls. There's going to be people that are unhappy. The reason it doesn't bother me is because it's out of my control. There's nothing I could do about it. There's always going to be people that are unhappy.
Yeah, but I come at it the honesty perspective a different way. I tell them the brutal truth when they go, "Well, what do you think of this guy?" I go, I don't know that guy. I could tell you what he's projected for. That's it. Are you playing that guy? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's now 5:30. I haven't even built my lineups. He maybe not. Do you think he's a good play? I go, I don't think anyone's a good play. I don't think anyone's a bad play. You could build anything with any line. Maybe a guy that's only playing 5 minutes. Maybe that's an NBA. That's you don't do it. But football, fucking the fifth receiver could come out and hit a fucking 100-yard touchdown, right? I mean, a pinch hitter in baseball. Yeah, you're most likely not playing a pinch hitter in MLB DFS. But if there's a $2,700 ninth hitter in some lineup on a 13-game slate, like I could show you a lineup for a large field GPP that contains that player that has positive expected value. So if I could do that, I could do that for any player. So if someone asked me, who are the good plays? I go, well, who projects well? Like whatever the projections say, isn't it? You're telling the truth because they're asking you, like, what are you doing? And you're telling them what you're doing. But aren't I doing the same thing? But to me, the 95% of people, the people that want the easy button, it's more likely they accept your answer, and my answer looks like what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, I think I yell less. I think isn't that a different?
But that's part of the entertainment, Greg.
Yeah,
I'm the Lewis Black. Trust me. I'm not this angry. It's a carrot. It's a heightened version. You do comedy. It's a heightened version of your actual personality. But do you think not to use you as my psychologist? Do you think it's more of me projecting of if I know my answer is the truth, is objectively the truth. Greg, you would agree with my answer, but from a content perspective, it's hence why I like doing strategy and review shows and not like before lock type of shows where I'm forced into positions where I have to say, well, these are the best projected. Here are the 8 best projected players, and if you play all the 8 players and you're playing large field GPP, you're gonna lose. Like how do people if you're playing cash games? Sure, yeah, that's the best lineup. Put it in double ups. But for people that don't understand the concept of equity and GPPs, they don't get how could the best lineup that you can make be unprofitable in a 60,000 entry GPP, because those are the best plays, Greg. I played the best plays and I only min cashed every all these times and I never win. And it's like, well, once you tell them and it's not about the plays, then their heads explode. But that's the real answer.
But there's a different way to explain the plays. So something that I don't do personally, but we have it up on awesemo.com, is Alex has his boom bust tool, which has the projected ownership for players, but also based on simulation says this is a player's projected chance to win, to end up in the optimal lineup. So just the guy off the top of my head today, like LeBron James for Tuesday's particular slate. He's somebody who's projected for around 30% ownership. However, his projected odds of being in the optimal lineup is projected over 40% right now, at least at the time we're talking about this. So I try to talk it through in those terms where I say that this guy has X amount of ownership, but this is what I think their odds of success actually are. So then it's not necessarily just, is this guy as a standalone good play? It's relative to his ownership. Do you want to be above or below the field on him? And then from that, I say that based on that information, I have this player, I'm going to be X amount compared to the field.
Right, but isn't that's the concept of relative value. That's leverage. That's that concept. What I try to do is teach the concept, and then you could look. We very similarly in Roto Grinders. We have smash percentage. They're all the same things, just called differently. It's all the same concepts. We're not talking about it's not X. It's all the same shit. But I take a look at for this current slate and go, well, Karl Anthony Towns, based on our projection, compared to other people in his price range, has a very low smash percentage, but he's only going to be 8% owned. And so, yes, he's 14% to smash at 8% ownership. Does that make Karl Anthony Towns now bad play for cash games for if you're looking for median scores? But could I build a Karl Anthony Towns lineup for a large field GPP? Well, yes. And in that lineup with an 8% owned Karl Anthony Towns, I could jam in I could jam in all the like whoever the cheap value is this slate. I don't care about their fucking ownership. Like, just give it to me because I'm going to be different there. But individually, Karl Anthony Towns, based on your assessment, would be a bad play. But yeah, he would be a bad play. If he was 40% owned, I'd stay away from him like it's a fucking plague. But 95% of the audience, since they may not understand the concept of relative value or leverage for GPPs, that you're looking to gain points that other people are not getting. To me, how do you end up being like it's still, I don't know, I view it as honesty, as like how do I say that you could like, that's why I say play whoever you want. I mean, like, my answer has to be play whoever you want because you can build a lineup with them. Now if you ask me, is it likely that I build a lineup with them? Then I could answer. I go, no. But that doesn't mean, then he puts up 50 points and it's like, well, yeah, you have a 14% chance of doing that. Like that's shit happens. So like my attitude is that I don't view people that do like picks and stuff as like, oh, you guys suck or whatever. You know, like I get it. I mean, I do shows plenty where I'm like, this is who I like and but I'm doing it based on the numbers. I'm doing it the same way that you said, like LeBron has more of a chance of being in the winning lineup than he'll be owned. Right. But I mean, you could probably find fucking 20 players like that. I mean, like, is it going to be LeBron or maybe do you play Harden? Maybe you play Jaylen Brown. Maybe like it's all of that stuff. And then eventually, like, it ends up being that people have to like, well, who is it on this slate? And I'd rather just teach from the perspective of, here's the concept. Go look at the projections. You tell me who has positive leverage and who has negative leverage. And once they could do that a couple of times, to me, they don't have to ask me anything anymore.
So here's a question for you then. How often do you think these concepts should be reiterated? Because you have your audiobook, which is a standalone thing, but then when you go to do a live before lock show or whatever, a pregame show, do you feel those concepts constantly need to be reiterated? Because the way I approach it is I kind of assume that people want to know those concepts, either already know them or they're going to ask me about them. And then I'm just going to talk about them as if the audience already knows on the show, because you can't do the same show every day and just be like, this is what these terms mean, and just rehash that every day. At least I feel like
I do it every day. I do it in the Discord. Like that's the tilt part for me. To me, that's the tilt part. I'm not talking about new people. If you just got into DFS, I don't tilt. I'm new. I've only played recreationally. I'm just getting into it seriously. I have all the patience in the world. It's more the fact of like how would you you project. It's the same thing as the projections of like, we're projecting J. Michael Green for 27 points, right? But that's a median. So if he puts up 25. Fucking projections, god damn it, they're wrong. Like that means you don't understand the concept of like what a range of outcomes even. Like you don't even understand the statistical concept of what you're even looking at. So how long does it take to reiterate? You say on a show, this guy projects well, or he's more likely to be in than but you're really describing a mathematical concept that if someone, you don't need to know the formula, but if you don't get the concept of J. Michael Green within one standard deviation will score somewhere between, based on our projections, somewhere between 16 and 41. And the next reaction that they have is, well, that's fucking large. So there's a big difference between 16 and 41. And I tell them, if he scores 16 or 41, you can't tilt because that's within one standard deviation. And then but that's what variance is. Like we say that basketball especially is a low variance sport, but when I'm telling you that the range of outcomes on a player for Giannis is 44 to 77, people go fucking a range of 32 points. Like, yes, that would be the fat part of that distribution curve. And if he got 46 or 76, it's virtually like probabilistically the same. So 76 is not like abnormal, and 46 is not abnormal. If he puts up 61, like that's his 50%, that's his median. Like, but once me and you get that, which is the main reason why we don't fucking tilt over players shit, right? Because like we see how variant this stuff is. But how do you teach people? How do you do shows? How do you do content? Like you say, what are you going to do? Reiterate this over and over again? How else is it going to get through until you reiterate it over and over again?
Yeah, so at least on shows, because I think there's multiple ways to go about it. Like I'm not going to explain every concept from start to finish, the totality of it all, but I will talk about the range of outcomes of an individual player, and then the people who want to listen to that part will listen to it. And then at the end, I'll say, so therefore, this is why I ended up playing this guy in X percentage of my lineups. So there's kind of something there for everybody, where I've briefly hit on the reason that I think a player has a certain range of outcomes, or why their minutes are unpredictable, or whatever it is. And then I'll say that because of those factors, that is leading me to play X percentage of player, X percentage of time. This is what their ownership is. So that way people are looking at it and they're like, okay, so if they don't care at all about why it is that I'm getting to that player's percentage, I gave them how much I like that guy at the end. I have this guy in 28% of my lineups, whatever X player is. So people still have that information to latch onto. I'm still giving them the thing they're looking for. If somebody's just looking for the play, I'm giving it to them oftentimes.
Yeah, but isn't that not help? But to me, isn't that not helping them?
No, because I give out the concept also for why it is that I like that player, and I always try to talk through it. I'm on the air for a gazillion hours.
I know that. I know that's why I find it like, how the fuck do you do this without fucking pull? I mean, I still have hair. I have a COVID haircut, but I mean, I'd pull out my hair. Like even the terminology, like is it just me? Like it feels like I'm crazy. Like when people ask me, like I don't use terms like ever, because I don't like anyone. I don't like, there's no like, I don't like these, you could rip the name. I don't, Greg, I know you were at Basketball Monster before. Mm-hmm. Like you're big into basketball. I frankly did give no fucks about basketball until, okay, how could I expand my DFS game from soccer to baseball? Oh, basketball. I haven't watched this since Shaq was on the fucking Magic, right? But I mean, like when I was a kid, but like, sure, just give me numbers and I'll play. This is a math game to me. And sure, people like you, obviously Basketball Monster was kind of a cheat code before people realized that they could use Basketball Monster to play DFS well, and go, well, Greg's at Basketball Monster, and he gives Michael Porter's minutes is 33. Like, I don't have to do the research. I don't, like, it's there. And then you have the fucking all the rates and everything. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that you could have just printed with Basketball Monster like 5 years ago, because people were not aware, the general public wasn't. But now the projections are much more prevalent. It comes back to the central concept of, I'm in the Roto-Grinders Discord, and one of the biggest fights that I have is getting people to look at the goddamn projections. Like the answers are literally there for you, and like just look. Like, but I come across as, well, why can't you give me your plays? And I'm like, dude, like when you ask me a 1v, like if you ask me a 1v1 of do I play, I'm gonna do our projections, right? I don't know what the fuck time it was updated, right? But like two, like, oh, do you play Harden? Harden or LeBron, right? Someone will say that something. It's 10-8 and 10-1 or whatever, and I'll go. It's like, well, Harden's 55.77 and LeBron's 54.36, so Harden. Like, why can't you just look at that? Like, I'm just reading the projection. Like, what I'm trying to teach is, what does it, like, you don't even have to ask, like, what, the math is there for you. Like, do you, if the answer is, I don't trust the model, well, that's a different story. I don't trust these goddamn numbers. Fine, I trust them, right? You could aggregate them. You could even like, I don't think Noto's giving 32 minutes here, and I go to labs, and Justin's giving 29 minutes, and you guys are giving 30 minutes, and I go, I think maybe we're being a little aggressive on so-and-so's minutes, and maybe I take that into account and bump them down a little, which is what I tell people that they could do. If you don't agree with how this rotation is going to be, then you fucking put it in the minutes allocation yourself. Fucking export this to Excel, change the usage rates, change the assist, do whatever the fuck you want. But if you're relying on people that you believe are know better than you, like I just look, Greg, you were at Basketball Monster, right? I use those projections. I was like, whatever they think is going to be better than what I think, but the numbers represent the players. I get where you're coming from. I get the perils of doing content, but I struggle with, I think it's more productive, at least for the 5% of people that want to learn or whatever, that are going to end up being better than me at this, that it's better to give those answers of like no, just look at the projections. It's like, well, I just want to know the 2v2. It's like, well, I could add them up too. Okay, I'm going to add up these two players' projections with those two players' projections. These two players have a 0.8 point higher projection. So, given me no other context, go with the other two. But do you think the other two is going to do well? I have no idea what's going to happen on the slate. So, well, you don't think so-and-so is going to I literally don't even care about outcomes. Like, these answers to someone that is like, I just want to win. I'm going to tune into YouTube. I'm going to see people with backwards hats always. Because if you're on Awesemo, it's always people with backwards hats.
That's how I differentiate myself. I don't
right,
wear a hat.
Right. You're right.
That's the only reason I've gotten anywhere in this industry. I don't wear a hat, and people are like, yeah, this guy's different. We're gonna put him on shows. He doesn't wear a hat.
Right. But don't you think, truthfully, even though it's harder to consume, that what I'm doing is trying to help them more, and basically sacrificing the people that are like, if you don't get it, like, then you're just not leave. Like, it's just like, I'm not going to dumb this down to something that, if I gave you the plays, I know in my heart of what I'm doing is the incorrect way of thinking about DFS.
See, but the way I'm doing it is I'm giving them the play at the end.
Yeah, but I don't believe in plays. It's like we're dealing with a religion. Like, you believe in God, and I don't believe there is a God. So, like that's how it's weird to say, but that's how I view it. And this is not like an attack on you. Content is, I listen to your shows. I understand what you're saying without you saying it, okay. Right? I listen to Adam. I listen to Alex. I think they're great shows. But I'm listening I know what you mean by he has more of I know all the concepts, and I know that you're dumbing it down for, like, this would be a good play here. It's like, well, he would be a good play in a lineup, like, if you're going to play LeBron at the small forward position, right? Or you're going to play him in the point guard position. That means you're getting leverage off of Lillard. So probably you're not going to play Lillard in that lineup. And if you're not playing Lillard in the lineup, maybe play Cantor to get leverage off of, like, I'm building the lineup, but I know that's literally what you guys are talking about without talking about it. So, like, I understand that. I know you guys understand it, but like, how do I'm still using you as a psychologist. How do I reconcile with the fact that I feel like if I have a take that there shouldn't be any takes. Like, I have no belief in takes to begin with.
Well, I'm going to throw you a bone here. Do you want to hear what tilts me? Yeah, I'll tell you the thing. I'll tell you the things that upset me. The 2v2 or the 3v3 questions where there's one player who's the same in both sides of them. That drives me crazy 100% of the time. Where somebody's like, do you like LeBron and Harris, or do you like LeBron and Jones? It's like, why is LeBron on both sides of it? Why is that? Why is that relevant? You have
to factor those. You got in math class. You got to get those out of there.
That's like 60% of 2v2 questions somehow end up with one player who's the same in both sides. So that's one. The other one also is the 1v1 questions, which is like James Harden or Jordan Clarkson. It's like, there's 7,000
different price ranges.
Yeah,
right.
Like that's the other one I never know how to answer.
Yeah, I'm going to still drill you again. The fact that they're asking questions where the guys are different price ranges, do you think that's a failing of your own teaching?
No, so I think I generally understand where it's coming, or at least I think I understand where it's coming from a lot of times.
I don't even understand where it's coming. I don't understand how you could have a 1v1 how could you have? Are you going to leave 5,000 on the table? If the answer is yes, then I would say probably don't do it. But don't. I believe that bad questions are a byproduct of my own content. I think this is a better way of taking you out of the doghouse, because it sounds like I'm shitting on what you do, but I'm not.
I think bad questions are inevitable in everything, but especially in this industry, because you're just going to get them, because people ask so many questions, and a lot of them are going to be ridiculous. Like, I mean, I did a show yesterday. I got asked whether Kawhi was out 800 times. Like at a certain point, everybody knows the answer. He's out. But that's not necessarily that's particularly strategy related. But you're just going to get a lot of questions that are repetitive and not high level thought out questions a lot of the time. But I think those 1v1 questions, or somebody's like Clarkson or James Harden for yesterday's slate, for instance. I think what people are looking at is they're trying to figure out which guy do I want to prioritize at this particular position. So that's why when I answer the question, I'm not trying to do it in a way where I'm talking down to them and just making them feel stupid. But I'm trying to say, like, all right, why are you comparing these two players? And then we could try to figure out what it is, because that does happen a lot where people are asking me 1v1 questions, and it's just like people are different positions. People are like thousands of dollars different in salary. So I'm trying to figure out then, like, all right, why are you asking this question? And then we kind of try to break it down. And then it could be something where I'm actually teaching somebody, or maybe trying to go through the process of how I would come about certain plays over other plays. I know you don't believe in plays, but how I'd end up on certain players more or less than other players in my lineups. And that's where I think that you could make those not good questions, not necessarily better questions, but something that somebody could learn from it.
Yeah, I take the opposite approach. But I'm a native New Yorker. I know you did comedy in New York. Are you originally from New York?
New Jersey, but
New
not
Jersey.
far.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you get the New York attitude. I'm from Brooklyn, old school Brooklyn, right? Irish, Italian Brooklyn. I'm a Jew, but whatever. But I like the attitude of like it's. Well, that's a dumb fucking question. I mean, like, just, yo, how do I get to the air? Like, fucking turn around, you idiot. I mean, like it's that type of way. So to me, I mean, maybe it's not the best teaching style for many people, but I'd rather immediately that it's a stupid question. I want you to question why I'm talking down to you, right? Rather than sugarcoating it and go, oh, okay, and then repeating the same mistakes over and over again. That my methodology is like, no, you don't get, no, you're stupid. Like, stop asking stupid questions. And they go, well, what would a smart question be? Well, now you're moving towards the way. But then some people are like, fuck you, you're an asshole. And then fine, then feel free to donate. That's perfectly fine to me. Keep on playing my games, no problem with it whatsoever. But at least you're much more of a nicer guy than I am, I guess, right?
Yeah, it does seem to be the case,
right?
But also I think part of it too is, so I'm the oldest of 4 siblings, so I have a lot of patience. I think that's definitely part of it. I think that plays into it. I feel like from what we know about each other, I think I have maybe a little bit more patience than you. Is that fair to say?
A little bit, but I have tons. I've spent just like you. I answer about 5 to 6 emails a day. I answer about 10 DMs a day. I've gone into in our Roto Grinders Discord. I've spent 4 to 5 hours giving basically statistics classes to be like. I have tons of patience of people that truly want to learn, and I go through example by example. And okay, you answered this question. I've got people that have a testimonial to my book. I've spent half an hour sessions for free for nothing. Explain anything you ever want to know, but it still comes from the perspective of that you want to learn the game. That whatever preconceptions you have to throw out. Whatever. If this didn't matter, why do they offer it? It's like, because people want it, not because it's useful. When I say that, what's this? Well, they take a wide receiver cornerback matchups. I go, don't even bother looking at them. And go, well, then if it wasn't valuable, why does this site have them and that site have them? And yeah, because people want them. Just same reason why at the roulette wheel they show the fucking numbers that came out, even though it doesn't fucking matter, because people want them.
It matters to some people who are not.
Who are idiots. Who are idiots.
It matters to people who also lose at DFS and lose at other table games.
Right. But it shouldn't that be the point, the overall point, that what we should be doing is making it so, all the dumb shit, fucking this is what matters, and it's hard, and it's a long-term thing. You could be really good and lose 3 months straight. If you're playing just large field GPPs, you could be extremely good and lose $50,000 in a fucking month and be really good doing it. You could be really build great lineups doing it. Isn't that much harder to sell than here are the plays and here are the whatever? I mean, to me, that's the fundamental difference. I'm not saying that that's bad. I think the hybrid of content of like that is perfectly fine. If Chris Kirkwood gets on, Grant gets on the show and go, I love Jeremy Grant tonight. If he loves Jeremy Grant, he loves Jeremy. That's perfectly fine. My personal style is I feel that if I did that, I'm perpetuating a strategic mindset that is not what I do. So like how what other answer could I give other than, well, what are you doing tonight? It's like, what does it matter what I'm doing tonight? I'm playing the $250 fucking 3-max contest. So I'm jamming in 4 fucking rockets, right? Oh, so I should be jamming in 4 rockets? It's like, are you playing the mini max? Like, Jesus Christ, you're playing the large fucking mini max? God, bang your head against the keyboard. Someone's gonna win banging the head against the keyboard. So maybe you shouldn't be playing 4 rockets in your lineup. Like, how do we reconcile content wise? Because I think you guys do it well at Awesemo. I truly do. But what could be a better way of being able to teach people the concepts better without focusing so much on like the 95% of people that want the candy, the little candy, like just give me the little piece of candy and I'm good and I'm happy and then I get to blame you later if it goes wrong. Don't you think that there needs to be a little bit more balance?
Well, I could only say it this way. If I knew a better way to do it, I would be doing it that way. If if there was some other way that we knew how to do it. But I also think there's always going to be those people that we're not going to be able to reach, and I don't sweat that too much. If there's somebody,
how does it not bother you? It bothers the fuck out of me.
Because it's inevitable. When we did comedy and we're trying to work out new material, it's going to go bad sometimes. It's inevitable. If you look at something as inevitable, like, what can I do about it?
If I have a good joke, it's always going to work.
It's not. Some of them are going to be bad. Some of them are going to be great.
No, when you first write them, sure, yeah. But I mean, eventually, it's like, when you did comedy, don't you have jokes that you know work, that you can at least like benchmark it against other things, like especially in New York with some of these rooms that you do. But when you go out, like if you're like, okay, this joke works 99% of the time, and it gets silence, like I can't judge any of the rest of my material. If I try new material, like I just does nothing. But like if I insert a new joke into my set and I'm like killing, and then I do the new joke and it's like, then I have to go like that. I guess it sucks.
But you know that's an inevitable outcome, where you know that some of it's going to suck and some of it's not going to go well. And that's the same as DFS, right? Some slates are going to go well, some slates are not going to go well. So that goes back to why I don't tilt individual slates, because I already know the deal going in. It might go well, it might not go well, but I know more of them are going to go well than aren't going to go well over the long haul. Therefore, I'm not tilting individual slates. It's not any different than doing my content. The majority of people are going to like it. There's always going to be people in the YouTube chat that show up and go, I fucking hate Greg Ehrenberg. Get this guy off the show. I know that's an inevitable outcome. I see that in the YouTube chat. I laugh 100% of the time. There was people that wanted to get me fired yesterday because they said Andre Drummond wouldn't be an asset to an NBA championship team. And people thought it was the dumbest take they ever heard. There were people who were tweeting at Awesemo on Twitter saying you have to get rid of Greg Ehrenberg because he doesn't think Andre Drummond is a great NBA player. But I know
but he's not a great. But you're right.
Exactly. But I know that's what the deal is going in. I know when I'm doing my content, it's going to appeal to the majority of people, and there's going to be people that don't like it. So if I approach it already knowing that there are people who are going to dislike me, because I'm growing a bigger following. There's a lot of people that watch our YouTube shows. There's a lot of people that watch your YouTube shows. It is inevitable that people will not like it. We are not for everybody. So I can't sweat the individual people that don't like me because it's an inevitable outcome. If I'm gonna get upset about everybody who doesn't enjoy the content or doesn't enjoy my teaching processes or whatever, then I'm just gonna be upset all the time because
You're describing me. You're describing me during a slate. To me, Greg, it's only during a slate. Like before the slate when nothing's going on, but when like there's seemingly reasonable people that enjoy that seem to be wanting to learn, start like Sabonis. If you didn't have Sabonis, you're no Sabonis, no cash, and then he doesn't even play the fucking fourth quarter. And now it's the other way around. Of Jesus Christ, who told me to play Sabonis? It's like, how do I not tilt when it's like, didn't we this afternoon talk about this very concept? Maybe this is the reason why I don't have kids, Greg. This may be the reason, because I wouldn't be able to deal with, like, I'm gonna sit down and teach you something, right? And then you're gonna do this thing based on that process 3 hours from now, and then not remember anything of what I just fucking said. And to me, that's more of the annoying part than like if you just say fuck you, I'm not listening. Okay, I've no bones about it, but it's the same thing in poker. When I tried to coach someone and I said, I want you to sit down and fold every hand for 8 hours. Like even aces? Like even aces. It's going to cost you $1-2 blinds, whatever. And he couldn't do it. So it's like, how could... I know I'm going to get upset trying to teach you, because if you can't even do that, then anything that I teach you, you're never going to be able to implement. And it's only going to make me upset that I even wasted the time doing so.
So I'll add one more thing, and then I'm short on time, so I have to run. But so I think part of it also is my life experience that kind of impacts my mindset too. Because so the reason I don't do comedy anymore is because I got very sick. I've ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, and that's the only reason that I stopped doing comedy and got into playing DFS was because I was really sick. I couldn't travel. I couldn't go on the road anymore. I had to spend time in the hospital. I was going to a bunch of doctors and whatnot, and I was getting prescribed a bunch of different medicines, and we're trying different things. I tried everything I could possibly do, and eventually I had to realize it was out of my control. I could do what I can to try to improve my situation, but how I felt on an individual day, it wasn't related to my diet, it wasn't related to my medication. It was just randomness. And it wasn't until I found medicine that started working for me, and I realized that there are times where I'm just going to get sick anyway, and it's out of my control. And I had to just let go of that. Because if I constantly sweated and thought about how I could get sick at any time, I was just miserable all the time. But once I was able to let that go and just kind of be like, hey, I'm just going to live my life and not think about my health issues, I started to just get healthier. And then the other stuff just kind of started to go away too, because part of it was mental in terms of I was inducing stress on myself that was causing some inflammatory issues inside my stomach. And once I was able to just kind of admit there are things in my life that I have no control over. It is outside of my hands entirely. No matter what I do, it isn't going to control that. It led to me becoming more successful in other areas. And so that's kind of my mindset. And I think that's also how I'm able to approach it in these ways where it's just like, hey, certain people are going to hate me. So be it. Whatever. They don't like me.
So it's the same thing. You're basically telling me the same thing that I tell people about DFS. Right? Like you can't control the outcomes. The players, if someone gets hurt, you can't. So I need to take my own advice by saying I can't control. If people listen to me and then don't take my advice and then yell at it, like it's not on me anymore. I should just, okay, I guess I don't know if I could do it that well, but maybe I could work on it. I feel, Greg, Dr. Ehrenberg, right? G Ehrenberg DFS on Twitter. Because I don't know what Eric would have told me. Eric would have probably been tilting also. It'd be like, well, they're fucking idiots also. Like whatever. But people could catch you on fucking God knows how many shows on Awesomo's YouTube channel. I mean, what? There's literally that. Is it just me, or is it their show on like 12 hours of the day?
We literally have 10 hours just of basketball content per day right now. And that doesn't even.
How many plays are there? How could you have 10 hours? How many plays could there be?
It's Jordan. We give out all the plays. We give out all the plays.
You might as well give out all the players on the slate for 10 hours.
The people show up. They're entertained. That's why they keep coming back.
So for entertainment, go there. G Ehrenberg DFS at Blender HD. Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. 15-hour audio DFS masterclass at theoryofdfs.com.